Hi, my name's Matt Collins. I'm the fishery owner here at Beausoleil, and what I'd like to show you in this video is how to tie a really simple yet highly effective carp rig. I've been fishing with this rig at my lake in France now for 3 years, and it's caught me just about everything that swims there. It's good for catfish as well, and landed cats up to 85 pounds on this rig, and it really is very simple to do. So, as you know, there's loads of carp rigs out there. What makes this one special? Well, for me, it's about versatility. This rig will fish over a full range of bottom types. You can fish it in silt, on hard patches, it'll fish in light leaf debris. It really doesn't matter. It's also very difficult for the fish to deal with and eject. It's incredibly good for getting bite indication on very slack lines. You can fish this up against a margin, and no matter which way the fish swims, be it left or right or towards you, you will get a run. So let me take you for a spin around the components that we're going to use to tie the rig. Okay, so to start off with, we need two 20mm bottom baits. These are my hand-rolled blue oysters that we sell here on site. Very effective bait. Next up, we have a size 4 wide gape in the X pattern. Very strong hook. We're going to tie the actual rig itself with 25-pound Supernova. Very good material. Then we're going to couple the braid to the main line with a size 8 ring swivel. We're also going to incorporate a short length of rig tubing and a tail rubber. Lead wise, I'm using a 3.5 ounce flat pair. This one's from Avid. I also use the quarter ones as well. The most important thing, whichever lead, inline lead you do choose to use, you have to take the insert out. Okay, so we start off, we pass the braid through the front of the eye of the hook. Form an overhand loop, and it's very important that the length of that loop is about 1.5 times the diameter of the baits that we're going to tie. Just trim off the tag end, just leave a couple of mil, that's fine. And we'll hook our bait and needle into the loop here. Slide on the first bait, slide on the second bait, and then we're going to put a hair stop in there. You can use any type of hair stop you like. These flat ones are just fine for that. Right, let's get on to the real important stuff, tying the actual rig itself. So it's very important the way I set this up. My nail is perpendicular to the point of the hook. The baits are pulled up behind my thumb and index finger there, so that fixes the length of the hair each time. Okay, then I whip away like that to avoid the join in the eye of the hook. And I stop when I get to that point there, and the braid is exiting the touching the point of the hook there, perpendicular to the shank. Right, next I've swapped hands, and we're going to put 2 whips behind the hair of the hook. It's 2 like that. Transfer hands again, just slide those up. We're going to go once over the knot there, that just locks the knot in position before we pass the hair back through the eye of the hook. For about 11-12 inches of the braid, and then we pass that through the back of the hook, and then we can moisten that before tightening it down. Before we go any further, I want to explain exactly what we've done here and why. The reason for tying the loop at 1.5 times the diameter of the baits was so that the knot in the hair ends up in the middle of that bait. That locks these baits together so that that one won't slide down and start interfering with the hook when the hook's trying to do its important job of gaining you a hook hold. We've added 2 turns behind the hair to create a kicker, okay, so that when this rig is under tension, the hook kicks out like that. The reason for the single overwrap is to help provide an additional lock on the knot. It stops the knot slipping and rotating, and that's what all these little features do. Okay, so when we pick up the rig by the baits, this is how it should look. The point there should be hanging roughly flat to the floor, and the hair, the position of that hair creates that pivot point. That's why it's important to have that pivot point exiting exactly perpendicular to the point. When we swing it round the other way, you'll see that the hook is hanging down exactly vertically. Therefore, whether it goes in the middle, the left or the right hand side of the mouth of the carp, it's going to get a hook hold. It's not preferring to pick up one way or the other. Alright, so it's giving you a good chance of pricking either way. Right, so now we're ready to make the connection to our swivel. We're going to pass through once and a second time, going back through the same direction. Give yourself a little bit of extra room there. We form a loop, start whipping round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gently start to pull that up, and we'll just ease that down. When we get to there, we need to wet that. So we've moistened that knot up. We've got a rig puller, a leather glove, and we're just going to tighten that up nice and solid, and that knot is not going anywhere. Right, and we're going to trim that tag end off. I always leave this about 5mm long, just for it might fray a little, but it really does no harm at all. Right, next we need to connect, get our main line set up. So I've got some 15 pound GR60 there, got some shrink tubing threaded on, and the first thing that goes on is our 3.5 ounce inline lead with the insert removed. Slide that up there. Then we're going to put on our tail rubber and just nick that in there like that. So next we're going to make our main line connection knot to the swivel. So we go through the swivel once, through the swivel twice, same direction, pull a little line through, form our loop, one, two, three, 5, gently tease that up, sliding down. We're going to moisten that. Then it's out with the puller and the glove again, and just give it a good old pull. Right, so you'll notice that I have not cut the tail. It's about 2 inches long at the moment, and what we're going to do is we're going to push the tail rubber over the top of that swivel like that. We're going to put the anti-tangle tube in the tail as well. So now we're going to put the lead in place, and we're going to take our telltale tail, we're going to place that up inside the insert, we're going to push on the rubber, and you see you've got a loop of line sticking out there. Right, to finish, we're just going to take a couple of blobs of putty and one on there. Okay, so that's what we're finished with. Right, so let's have a look at how this rig does on the palm test. Just laid it in my palm there, and he's over straight away. Now, this hook's brand new out of the packet. I would never fish with it brand new out of the packet like that. I would always sharpen it up, because if I do this again, you'll see that skid, and useless. So you've got to sharpen up your hooks, and we'll talk about that in another video. So let's have a look at how this rig actually fishes in an angling situation. Yeah, don't worry about the fact that the baits would land very close to the lead. That's of no concern to me whatsoever. Carp comes along, picks up the baits. It's going to tighten the rig. It's going to hit the lead. And the first thing he's going to do is try and shake that off. One little shake and that lead's off. Now, whichever way the fish moves away from you, obviously you're going to get a run. If the fish moves to the side of you, you're going to get a run. Back away from you, you're going to get a run. So this lead system is acting as a super slack semi-fixed setup. It's basically going from a semi-fixed to a running lead, and you can fish very, very slack lines with this setup, and you will always get an indication on the bobbin and on the alarm. So let's have a look at what this telltale here is doing. So when we get a pressure from the carp in this direction, the tail rubber pops out, the tail pops out, and if you wound the rig back in, it would actually look like that. Now, that's fine if you've got a carp on the end, you just had a take. What happens if you haven't got a carp on the end? Well, basically, you've just been done. Let's have a look at what happens when you get a liner. So if the carp comes along, moves that lead, the lead stays on the tail rubber, and you're still, you're going to get an indication at this end, but when you wind it in, you're going to see that that tail is still in place. Now, what's happened is you've just got a liner. You haven't been done at all. You might have had a screaming take, doesn't matter, it wasn't a bite. So let's have a look at how this rig casts. And so when it's in flight, lead's travelling first, obviously, bait's trailing somewhere up here. Now, if you cast this rig straight into the water, the lead's going to plunge in, the flailing baits will very likely spin round and tangle on the tail rubber, and when you wind in, you're going to be fishing with something that looks like that. Not exactly what you were trying to achieve. So when you're fishing with the Beausoleil rig, when you're casting this rig especially, you must stop the lead before it hits the water. Alright, that's stopping the lead in flight, 12 inches, couple of foot above the water. What that's going to do is the lead will decelerate and stop, the baits will fly forward like that, and the whole rig will land on the water like that. Alright, the lead will then plunge through the surface, the baits will follow, will come forward like that on the elasticity of the line, and it's going to land something like that, and that means your presentation is very good. There's no tangles and it's effectively fishing. It also enables you to feel what sort of bottom the lead has landed on. Very important for when you're trying to target a small hard spot, for example, in amongst some silt. Now when I'm dropping this rig from a bait boat, I'll just put it in a hopper like that. I might have to put a little bend in the rig just like that. Depends how big your bait hopper is. And when the trap opens, what's going to happen is the lead will go first, the bait will follow it, and then the putty will keep the braid pinned down. The bait will land next to the rig, and that's absolutely fine. So if I wanted to drop this rig from a rowing boat, what I'd do is I'd hold it by the baits, get over our spot, and plop, leg goes in, rig will fall down like that, and that's how it's going to be fishing. Little scattering of bait over the top, and that's just what we're looking for. So before I actually fish with this rig, the last thing I do is sharpen the hook. Right, so I'll just do the finger hang test here. This is a out the packet hook. I haven't stabbed that in, I've just hung it up, and if I go to invert my finger, that drops off. Right, that's a fail in my eyes. So in the next video I'll show you all about hook sharpening and how to do it to a level that you'll have never seen before. So there we go, the Beausoleil rig. Very simple to tie, very effective, and good luck with it.